Everything's coming up to Timberwolves. Yeah. In the zone, simple dedication to the team when you're in the know. To Timberwolves. Yeah. In the soul, lifting all the positivity for the Wolves to grow. So, where we going from here, man? We listen week to week to get the clearest to clear. Recaps, got that. South Cap, got that. Team ads, got that. So tell me what they do not have, huh? How dare you? Foolish question to ask, but I don't mean to go brag. But boy, they got all the stats, and they could go all the way back from KG to Zerbiak. And all I'm saying is that the cast a one-stop shop for my Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Ain't a thing falling, everything's coming up. Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Falling from the autumn, ain't nobody gonna stop them. It's the Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Phonies, you can spot them, they the sheep under their clothes. Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Talk a lot about them, y'all don't really know. Let's go.
Welcome in to the Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast. Oh, let me get rid of that. There we go. It's the Everything Coming Up Timberwolves podcast. My name is Gabe Anderson, and I'm joined, as I am every week, by Chris Emerson. Chris, how we doing?
I'm doing good. Just happy that Alex is here to be our super fan.
That's true. Very consistent. He's a very consistent super fan, and he's here. I always see him typing stuff in the chat, and just glad to hear. In fact, let's do this. What's up, Alex? What's up?
Hey, buddy.
And we're also joined, as we are every week, by Jared Good. Jared, how we doing?
Doing good. Happy that my favorite player's back. Looked like a much better team with him on the floor.
That's true. And, let's get right into that. Man, what a difference. Just a different team out there, particularly in the second half for the Timberwolves last week. Or for yesterday, I mean, because if you listen to this later, we're recording this on a Monday. So, man, let's just talk about it. Chris, what's the significance, or what I titled the episode "The D'Lo Effect"? What is the D'Lo effect? I mean, what does he bring? Like, what difference that do we see in the Wolves out there when he's healthy?
Well, I mean, it's a mix. So, like, I don't know how you guys feel about hot dogs, or maybe let's say peanut butter and jelly sandwich or whatever. But if you think they're just like, okay, they're solid food, that's one thing. But if it's the only thing you have to eat, like if you don't eat for a week and then someone offers you a hot dog, you're like, hell yeah, that is amazing. I'm so happy that I got that. That's kind of what D'Lo is in a way. I don't think he's, MVP quality, or maybe not even high-end all-star. I think he's a fringe all-star, maybe, probably not even that. But he's a professional, and he knows what he's doing, and he's showing that he's improving even at, his old age of 25 or whatever he is. But we have so little behind him that it makes his impact so much more. And that's not taking anything away from D'Lo. D'Lo's awesome. I love D'Lo. He's a shot maker. He's getting to be even maybe as important on defense as he is on offense. And he's a guy that'll win you or lose you the game on a couple jumpers, but he's at least out there ready to shoot them. And that's what we need. We need all three of our big guys, or else we're nothing. And like I mentioned, I believe last week on here, D'Lo's the most important player, because since we traded Rubio away, we literally don't have a backup point guard, and Beverly is not a backup point guard. I mean, he's short, so he might fit into that. He might fit into that role on a lineup, but he's not a point guard.
Mm-hmm. Jared, talk about it. What does D'Lo mean to this team? And I know you have some strong feelings about that, but
I think he it just sounds so cliche to just say that he's just that important, but he really is. Like, even when I was watching the Portland game, I probably didn't catch much of this game, actually, probably like the third quarter on. But like, even when like things are starting to like unravel a little bit, he's always like okay, we get the rebound now. Let's get the defense pushed down floor, give the ball to me. Let's all calm down for a second. And like, we don't have that when he's not there. And I think that's so big because like we're so young too. Like we're so implied to just like push it all the time, but like in those clutch situations, it's really not what we want to be doing. And then, you know, he's just a clutch player. Like we lost the lead in that Portland game a couple times. He comes down and he smacks a three and then he hits another one. And like, that's why I in our Timberwolves group that we have, I said, he's just like Captain Clutch, you know, like he just has that slow everything down and let's take a deep breath approach to basketball. And he's a killer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to kind of jump off of that, he's kind of the one guy at the end of the game that I want to see the ball with the ball in his hands. Because honestly, I mean, I don't trust yet. Maybe I will one day. I don't trust Anthony Edwards to drive down the lane and be able to make a bucket. And, you know, he's not getting the calls yet. So maybe I would trust him to get fouled. But like I said, he's not getting the calls that, like, say, that someone else would get. So he's kind of our clutch player. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, like Jared's saying, I mean, D'Lo calms everything down. Part of it is just who he is. He's kind of a mellow guy, but he's seen a lot of basketball and he's a student of basketball, you know, self-proclaimed. He knows what's happening. Like you hear him calling out plays or see him calling out plays. I was listening to a podcast with Dane Moore and forget who it was. One of the other beat writers were together on it. And he said they were at the Portland or at that game, and it was pretty dead for fans in there. And you could hear D'Lo just screaming, like, you know how coaches are always like, talk on defense, D'Lo is the one you hear the most. He's the one talking. He's the one organizing everything. And he's a point guard. Like he can control the point guard has to control the flow, man. They have to control the rhythm of the game. They control the flow. If we want to push the pace, he'll push the pace. If we need to slow it down, he'll slow it down. Like Jared was saying, we don't have anyone that has anywhere near that sort of ability or intelligence on our roster that's a ball handler. You know, Cat might be able to do it. He might know how to do it, but, you know, you're not going to have him bringing the ball up. So he's everything for us. If I've joked, like I don't watch games when he's not playing because there's no need for me to watch him because it's not even basketball really. It's like that you get to watch an AAU pickup game and we're going to lose by 20 every time. So I've got better things to do, but every game he's there, I'm going to watch, you know, and not so much just because of him, although it is, but because I get to watch good, well-run basketball, like actual ball movement and actual like facilitating. Like you need that. Yeah,
I would agree. And you always feel better when you have a full strength Wolves teams going into the game because like it doesn't feel right when there's no Anthony Edwards or no D'Lo or no Towns. I mean, you basically you need that going forward. And Chris, I know you'll like this. The best part about last night, Josh Okogie didn't see the floor. And
I do like that. I do like that.
And let's not forget, Torian Prince didn't see the floor either.
Also good. To touch on we need everybody. I believe our starting lineup that we've now settled on is the best starting lineup in the NBA by what is it? By plus minus or something like that, or efficiency or something like. It's the best starting five. So we need to keep those guys healthy. Jared, you know who else was at the game that you will like? Jaden McDaniel. No, who's the little point guard? I can't think of his name. Noel, yes. Yeah. And he actually did something good. Maybe he's coming around again.
Yeah, you know, it's funny that you say that because like I was watching this game and like I said, I picked it up kind of late, so I didn't see a ton of this game. But as I'm watching Noel on the court, I'm like, it's almost like Finch is listeing to us or something. He's got my boy out there.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, it was good like I said, he's serviceable. We have guys on our team that get run that I would consider not even serviceable. And some of these guys that we're talking about, Like, I mean, not to get like carried away or anything, but like like anytime the ball goes in Tayshaun Prince's hands, like I just get annoyed. Like I just don't even want to see him touch the ball. And that's kind of something I was kind of unexpected to say at this point in the season, because I thought he was a much better basketball player, and I thought he would, play a lot of minutes on this team just out of necessity. And I just want to see less and less of him every single game, to a point where it's almost disappointing. I would gladly move ways with him coming up talking trade deadline. He's one guy that I know that Chris is pretty adamant about not wanting on this team next season, not only because he doesn't like him playing, but like he's got an expiring contract, which is appealing to other teams as well. So I'd be interested to see, like, what is it, the 14th today? I think the 15th. A lot of these players become available tomorrow, so maybe we see some fireworks. Yeah, I never know what day it is.
But the vibe is right. Yeah, the 15th is going to be big.
Yeah. So let's go right into that. Let's talk about it. Who are some players we could go after? I mean, potentially, like, for example, I saw rumors going around. There's a guy named Kemba Walker who is buried at the end of the Knicks bench. I mean, maybe. What do you think? Or who are some other players you guys think we could take a run at?
Well, one thing that I think is really interesting right now is you're in that time of the year right now where if you're not a Wolves fan and you're cheering for another team, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's weird that this guy hasn't played all year, and all of a sudden he's playing now like 20 minutes a game, 25 minutes, like what's going on? It's because they're shopping him. Like I looked just the other day, and Chris Boucher, what I'm talking about, the Toronto lanky Boucher, that dude hasn't played all year, maybe 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. He played like 25 minutes and started the other night. I'm like, wonder
started
what that's
again
about.
Tonight too. Yeah.
Bagley played like 25, 30 minutes the other night. Dude hasn't got off the bench for weeks. It's like, interesting. Larry Nance got his very first start last game. That guy hasn't started all year. Wonder why all these guys are finally it's because the 15th, everyone who signed as free agents can be traded. So these are all the types of guys that other teams want to move, and they're giving them a little bit of a showcase so that hopefully they can, get an extra second or something like that. So it's going to be interesting. The guy that I want to go for is Boucher. I like that guy. He's long, he's athletic. He's not the youngest guy, but he literally fits everything we need at a power forward. Rim protector, can stretch the floor a little bit, and he's not out there, trying to be a superstar. He knows his role.
Yeah, Jared, who do you think? Who are some guys we could go after?
It's funny that you mentioned Bagley, because he was kind of the guy that I had my eye on in a way. I don't love his game per se, and I think he has to get paid soon too. But like,
the Knicks free agent next year.
Yeah, and the Knicks kind of killed, or the Kings kind of killed his value in a way, almost, because he hasn't played in like almost a year and a half or something. Like he hasn't played like at all. And then like you're saying, that's the guy I looked at. I even picked him up in our fantasy league because I saw he was starting one night, and I was like, maybe they're gonna give this guy a run. Maybe it works out, whatever. So that was kind of the guy that I had my eye on, just because he's a power forward who rebounds exceptionally well.
And I think you can get him for nothing.
Yeah, like, even if it's like a rental, like not a futuristic piece, like
take a look.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like you said, you could get him probably for pretty cheap, and why not take a run at a 4 if some of these bigger moves doesn't work out? So that was the kind of the guy that I had in mind. Just when he's healthy, he's like a double machine. He boxes out. He doesn't play defense all that great, but like he rebounds a basketball, and that's one thing that we. Yeah, and like I said, he's young. But I'm going to get to the Kemba question. Why wouldn't the Knicks move Kemba? I think they're going to move Kemba. I don't think you just let a veteran sit at the back of your bench. That's just my opinion. Now, Kemba was traded to, was it the Thunder? And then he was released by them and bought out by the Knicks. So there was a lot of back way to how Kemba got to the Knicks, but it's not working out, and he's making a ton of money. So this is another player.
$9 million this year and next year, if I remember.
Okay,
That's off the top of my head.
Okay, I thought it was more than that.
Was
like
making a lot.
Okay, but this is a type of move like where Chris was saying, like, you look at veteran teams that maybe need like a backup point guard that plan on making a playoff run. Maybe they take a shot on a guy like Kemba, or a team making, like middle of the road like us. This is kind of a way where you can cut money in the off season, take on that contract for the rest of the year, and then just chop it off, and then you have essentially $9 million more in cap space moving towards the next year. But for me as a Timberwolves fan, I want nothing to do with Kemba Walker, and it's nothing to do with against his game. I don't like him as a basketball player, especially on this team. I know we have a necessity for a guy like that can come off the bench if we were to have some injury problems, because we literally don't have a backup point guard. But you're going to call me crazy, but I would rather roll out Jalen Noel every single night than have Kemba Walker on this team.
I don't know. The Kemba Walker thing, though, is intriguing to me because, if you're trying to build something and win now, that could be a nice piece off the bench, because it's been shown in the past couple games just how fragile we are at point guard. D'Lo goes down, and we have Beverly, and that's pretty much it. The guy that I'm thinking, not that anyone's ever mentioned this before, why not give McKinley Wright a chance? Like, seriously, at least McKinley Wright, I think he's the fourth McKinley Wright.
Is he the guy that used to play high school ball here in Minnesota?
I think so, yeah. And his former teammates now playing at Duke. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, particularly, why couldn't we have given him some run like when we were getting blown out by the Jazz in the second half or something? Just to see.
Probably because he was in Iowa.
That's true. That's a good point. But if he was here, I'm just saying we could have. And I don't know. I don't think Balmero has it yet. I really don't.
Not yet.
He doesn't have the shot yet, in particular, and he doesn't have the ball attack. He's a good defender and a decent rebounder, but I don't think he has. I don't think he.
Let me ask you this: like, talking about McKinley Wright, so Jake Layman basically doesn't play ever. Why? Because I believe, is it too much of a disrespect to send Jake Layman down to the Iowa Wolves for a couple days and let him play and then bring up McKinley Wright in those kind of situations? I don't know. I thought it made sense to me just now.
I think you can bring up McKinley Wright without sending him down, but I wonder if Jake Layman went down there, I would love to see what kind of numbers he'd put up. I wonder if he'd put up like 25, 10, and 5. Like, I wonder if he'd just destroy them.
Do you think he would mind it? Like, do you think it would be a demotion, or do you think he's just happy that he'd be able to play somewhere?
I think he would rather fly private jet and stay in nice hotels than ride on a bus in Iowa, would be my guess.
True. That's a good point.
Like, he's like, I'm getting paid. If you guys want to just have me suit up, I won't even put a jersey on. That's fine. Which is another question. He's not playing.
Unless he's a corn fanatic, there's no way I'd want to be in Iowa. It's just,
it's a tough
there's
spot.
not much to do there.
But Kemba Walker aside, we should address. Well, we've got Prince. Prince is $14 million. We've got two choices. We've got Prince and we've got Beverly. Both those guys are making a combined $30 million. If we just eat those contracts this year and just let them expire. I know there's talk of us trying to sign Beverly long-term. We'll see how that comes about. But if we let them go, we're going to have like $20 million in cap space next year. Or we could, the next year's, free agent class isn't amazing, but we could maybe use that $14 million to get a free agent now. So I wonder if there'll be a team that'll take Prince on that might have another backup point guard. Like, we don't need, like, Kemba's fine. Sometimes it's hard when you used to be a star scoring 20, 25 points a game to all of a sudden be a backup. And some players aren't really destined for that. It doesn't work for them. I don't know. I can't answer how Kemba feels about that, but It's going to be interesting to see if the Timberwolves make a move or not. Like, we have movable pieces. I just don't know if we're going to just try to keep building from within and just kind of building a rapport, or if we're going to actually pull the trigger. And I hope we pull the trigger.
Jared, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just like this is where like having someone like Chris on our podcast is great because he thinks like a GM and me and Gabe don't. But so like say we were to give up basically nothing to get a guy like Bagley and we move, some of our money for another piece. We'll say we move Prince for, I don't know, Levert and maybe a pick or something like that. Just theoretically speaking. So we bring in, I mean, I would have to look at contracts and all that, but I don't do that. So theoretically, then you bring in 2 new players and you're gonna have, I don't know what Levert's contract is, but if it expires at the end of this year, theoretically, then you have $14 million to take. So this is like a test run to be re-signed here. And if it doesn't work out, you cut the rope and you say $14 million to look for somebody next year.
And that's what I would like to do with, I wouldn't mind doing that with Bagley, and I wouldn't mind doing that with Boucher. Because both those guys are free agents next year, which means there's not much value. Like, you're not going to be able to trade them for much because you're going to have to pay them next year to get them anyways. So both those guys, I think you would get for matching salaries and at the very most like a second. So yeah, I would say take a look at those guys. Why not? Maybe we are the perfect fit for Bagley and he turns into being that number 2 pick he was picked at and he's a monster, or at least looks like he's got some drive to him. And then you can sign him, and now you've got him as a restricted free agent. You can match anyone's deal. So like there's definitely a reason to do that. And I really think the only reason Prince has ever been on this roster is to trade him. So I would be surprised if we finish with him on the roster. And that means that there should be a new $14 million player on our team.
And not to make this analogy, which might bring up some wounds to some Wolves fans, but possibly Marvin Bagley is our Andrew Wiggins, right? Like Wiggins goes to a new situation. He goes to former number 1 pick goes to Golden State and he fits in perfectly. Maybe
right,
Bagley,
because he doesn't have to be a number 1 pick. Right. All he has to be is a guy.
Right,
Bagley can show up here and be a guy. And he doesn't have that pressure of all the fans like, oh, that's a guy that should have been Luka, or oh, that's a guy that should have been Trae Young. No, you're just Bagley. You're just a power forward trying to make his money. You're competing against Vanderbilt, and you know what? Maybe Vanderbilt's motor might wear off on Bagley a little bit, and who knows what we'd get. Like, it's not a terrible move. But what we have right now is so thin. Like we have Vanderbilt starting at the 4 and he's okay. He's okay. Like, let's not get out of hand. He's okay. He literally messes up every possible offensive possession that he gets the ball in. So
oh my gosh. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Oh, I love the guy until we pass him the ball or pass the ball towards him, because it doesn't always get to him if it goes to his body. But so he's our starter. Like, it's not like that's amazing, but behind him, we've got Prince. That's terrible. For small forward, we've got, McDaniels. Behind him, we don't have much of, we're so thin that we need to take some of that crap we have, add some picks to it, and turn it into a usable piece. If we can get one more usable piece that's like a average starting player quality, we would be looking quite a bit better.
Now, in this, you brought up something that I want to bring up, and it's not a big point. It's just kind of a small point. And I want to talk to right now, if they're listening, Towns and Edwards and D'Lo too. Stop trying to force the ball in tough situations to Jared Vanderbilt, because he doesn't have the hands. He does not. Like, for example, there's this guy on my pickup basketball team. Love him to death. Great guy. But you know that if he gets a tough pass to him, he's not going to be able to catch the ball. Like, you just know, because he doesn't have the hands. Jared Vanderbilt does not have the hands to catch tough passes. I don't know. Okay, he had a good game last night, but before that, yeah, man, every game, 2 or 3 times he fumbles the ball out of bounds on a tough pass. Now, is it his fault? I don't know, but man, stop trying to do it. Jared, go ahead.
Yeah, so we were talking about Jared Vanderbilt in the offensive realm that he's in. So I was watching that Trailblazers game, and he gets it in the corner, and he's got like, I don't know, 5 feet before the defenders by him, and he kind of like hesitant, and then he pulls the trigger and he hits it. And they go, oh, Jared Vanderbilt hits one from the corner. He's 1 for 8 on the season. And then the next possession, he gets it in the same spot, and he pump fakes and like dribble drives and gets a dunk. And Jim Pete goes, yeah, once he hits it, you got to start respecting it. And I'm sitting here thinking, no, you don't. You let him shoot it again.
Right, for sure. He is he's hard to watch, man. He's hard to watch. He is pretty much, you guys both played basketball some. He's the wrestler that comes out, or the football player that comes out to play pickup with you guys, where he's
100%.
like, geez, this guy is an awesome athlete. He's super strong, but like, he doesn't know what he's doing. Where you'll fake him, like you'll do a crossover on him and it won't work because he'll like get faked the wrong way. Like every basketball player moves this direction because that's logically how you move. But he'll like stuff you because he just doesn't know to move correctly. He makes mistakes that end up being good because he's just so out of control. That's what he is. And sometimes it leads to 20 rebound games because he's just stronger and faster and has more grit than everyone else. But man, he has no skill. He has very, very little skill. But he also shot about 30% from the free throw line last year. And this year he's shooting 80. So there's this glimmer of hope for me that maybe his work ethic can help him progress to be serviceable. Like all he needs to be is a serviceable corner 3-point shooter, like even just 32%. If he can hit 32% of corner threes, he becomes a good, like he goes from like below average starting power forward to like a good, like it's such a big difference because it frees up so much more space.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I want to get to 2 things in the chat here. We'll start here. Question: any thoughts? And if you totally don't think this is a good idea, feel free to just say that. But thoughts on trying to get Siakam?
Start with Jared.
Go ahead.
And Chris knows that I don't like Siakam, so he wants me to start. I don't know. This would be a move that would cost you probably multiple first-round picks, Beverly and Prince, maybe Beasley as well. I don't know. You might have to get another player that matches salary on the way back. But this is the all-in type of move, just because I don't think that the Raptors would let him go for anything less than that. You got to remember, I talked about this probably like in the offseason, why the Raptors haven't blown their roster up after losing Lowry and struggling to maybe they had Van Vliet already, but and I was kind of surprised that he wasn't traded at that time, but now the Raptors are winning. So I don't think the Raptors are planning on selling anything at this point in time. They struck gold with that Scotty Barnes character, that dude can ball. And then they're just winning too much to sell a star, in my opinion. I think that they would even be in the conversation to get Siakam, but that's just my opinion.
I tend to agree with you. I don't know. It seems like too much of when you already have a quote unquote big 3, to try to add in another one in the middle of the season just seems like a little, I don't know. And I don't know how much Siakam brings. I mean, just looking at his stats, he's a good power forward, but 18 points and 7 rebounds. I mean, it's pretty good, but I don't know. I don't know if he's worth the money. Chris, anything to add on that?
So he's making $35 million a year for the next couple years. So you're going to have to match that salary. So at the very least that you would send out would be something like Beasley and Prince and probably two or three firsts, you know. And so now you get this guy. Whatever you think about him, you might think he's an amazing player. I think he's fine. But what I struggle with him is, what does he solve for us? Is he a rim protector? Not really. Is he a he's a decent defender. So, I mean, there's that, but he's not like an exceptional rebounder, and he's not an exceptional 3-point shooter. He shoots 4 3-pointers a game, I think it is. I've got it right here. He shoots 3 3-pointers a game at 34%. So he's like an NBA below average 3-point shooter. So he's not really a stretching defenses. How he makes his money and how well, literally and figuratively, is 2-point shots with the ball in his hand, driving to the basket, all the things Anthony Edwards does, all the things D'Lo does. So adding another guy that does the same things as our 2 stars then takes away from both of them, because now they'll do less of that. So now you're really not adding that much. You're kind of just adding a guy that gets in the way of the rest. So I don't think I love him as a player. If he was making $15 million a year, I'd be like, yeah, he would fit in fine. He could be like a 6-man, do it all 6-man, and we could focus around him. But for what he would cost, I don't think it's worth it. I think that he would double up too many things, and he wouldn't solve the holes that we have, to be honest. And so I think those assets would be used better with a better chess piece that fits what we need.
And we don't really have more shots to be had in this offense. It's not like we're struggling for guys to shoot the ball.
Right. I mean, it's good to have a guy who can shoot, but I don't need a guy shooting. I don't want to add a guy shooting 15 shots, 16 shots a game right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. And then a kind of a follow-up question. He didn't know if you mentioned it or not. Trade package in like potential trade package for Marvin Bagley. You got anything, Chris? Like, what do you think?
Well, Bagley's making $11 million a year, so you'd have to match that, which would be Prince would be fine. Something he's making like 13, so there'd be maybe a little wiggle room there. I think they might be under the cap. So you would be able to do Prince or something like that. And maybe, I mean, you could probably get him for a second, after you make the contracts match, probably a 2nd-round pick. I mean, it's very clear the Kings want nothing to do with him. I mean, coach did not play him for 3/4 of the season so far. I think it's whoever gives the best 2nd-round pick probably gets him. I don't think you're going to have to trade much of anything. And unfortunately, there's a reason for that. He's not very good.
Right.
Like, there's a reason why the Kings are bad and they still don't play him. He's either got a really, really bad attitude, which might be part of it, or he's just not a very good basketball player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I see no reason why we shouldn't take a chance on him.
Yeah, I mean, it's still someone that is, let's see how old, he's 22 years old, for gosh sake. Mm-hmm. I mean, the guy, his brain isn't fully formed yet. So, like, who knows what he'll be in 3 or 4 years. Like, I would definitely, if he takes a low-end deal, like a $6-7 million a year, for like 3 years, who knows? That 3rd year, he might be a great player by then. I mean, 22, there's guys graduating college 22. I mean, that's about the age that Culver was when we drafted him. Rest in peace.
Yeah, for sure.
They took him over Luka. I don't remember that. God.
Well, I guess
crazy to look back.
Was it the same draft class?
Yes. Yeah,
it must have been.
So not only that,
it went Aiden, Bagley, Luka, some things, and then Trey.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's definitely the black sheep out of that crew.
Now, here's my question, and this might not matter at all. It's just something that I looked at looking at the standings. Would the Kings now? I don't know what the Kings are thinking internally. They just got a new coach, which seems to be going pretty well. Would the Kings have any reservations with trading to a team that they're trying to pass in the standings, potentially for a play-in spot. Do you think that has anything to do with it or no?
I think they would if they were trading like Deer and Fox, or if they were trading somebody of value. I mean, they know Bagley's not bringing anything to anybody that's going to scare them. You know what I mean? So I think that's more of a real thing when it matters, but I don't think this would matter. I think they'd be happy to take anything.
I don't think we can take the Kings seriously. This is just my opinion. I don't think they're a very good basketball team. They just released their coach. They got a new coach. I don't know if he's on an interim or if they actually signed somebody. So they've already got that going for them. They got boat raced tonight by Toronto. They lost by 23 on the road. They have been trying to play this devil's advocate with Bagley for a long time. Like Chris was saying, I don't think it's going to take much to get rid of him. They are pretty adamant and openly talking about wanting to move him. And after these couple games that he's played recently, an attractive piece for some people. Like you said, he's 22 years old.
Why not?
He just started drinking last year.
I see Chris in the chat asked how close the salaries have to be. Don't quote me on this, but I think you have to come with like you can be over, but it's like 125% of the contract or something like that. So like you can be like 25% over or something. So a couple mil here or there, but it's got to be fairly close. That's if both the teams are over the salary cap, which we are. So, I mean, you got to be within a couple mil. Like you can't, I would say maybe 1 or 2 mil, something like that. We can go over 3 maybe.
Interesting. Yeah, that's good to know. I mean, and by the way, Alex said that it was Jared Jackson Jr. at 4. I forget. I don't know who we went to, but
Memphis.
Yeah, he's still at Memphis.
That was a guy that people were talking about as a trade chip maybe earlier this year because he just was always hurt and everyone wanted him to be great. And, he's never really done anything and he's turned it up a little bit of late, but yeah, I don't think he's tradable.
Okay. So someone that I got to bring up when we're talking about moves, and I know we spent basically, it was actually nice because it gave us something to talk about in the offseason. But we spent a long time talking about it, but we got to bring him up.
Dan Marley.
Yes, nailed it. Ben Simmons. I mean, like, the rumors are still there. Like, remember, we thought it was going to happen, and then it didn't happen, and then we thought, oh, maybe later it'll happen. It just gut feeling. We'll start with you, Jared. Do you think it's going to happen, or do you think that ship has sailed?
I think the ship has sailed, and I'm going to kind of go into why here in a second. But today I did see a post with 6 teams that were still involved in the Ben Simmons.
Yeah, that's why I bring it up.
So
that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, it might have been on our page even, but the Wolves were listed. I think the Blazers were listed, the Kings, and a few other teams.
Lakers in Indiana and Knicks.
Yeah. Yeah. So the reason why I think the ship has kind of sailed on Simmons, and I was Mr. Simmons from before Mr. Simmons was a thing, pretty much. I just, when I read the report that the 76ers are not interested in Ben Simmons for CJ McCollum, I figured, what in the hell are they thinking? Like, it made no sense to me. Like, how could you're not going to get a better ask than that, in my opinion. Like, it just, I think the 76ers are crazy what they got him valued at. And I think the rest of the league has kind of agreed and just said, hey, you can sit on him then, drop that down. The only thing I could see happening would have to be Beverly and probably Beasley as well, and a ton of future firsts would be the only thing that I think would work for us to get them as a straight up deal. It would probably more than likely have to be a 3-teamer just because of where that contract's at, in my opinion. But there's some big names that are being floated around in trade talk. So a lot of times that's for the rest of the league because then you can get those salaries to match. Not every guy just rolls out of bed making $35 million. You have to have a guy making 35 million from one team and 30 million from another team. So
Look at that, Jared. That's some GM job right there.
But yeah, no, I think that ship's kind of sailed, but I think it's definitely not because we're not interested. I'll tell you that much. Like we're interested, but we don't want Philly to know that we're interested. We wouldn't be like, hey, yeah, what do you guys want for him?
Right. And to kind of jump on Jared's point, why Philly is kind of playing hardball right now, I do kind of get it because, I mean, you got to think about it like Ben Simmons is like a 3 or 4 time All-Star. Like I mean, and defensive player, all defensive player, was their number 1 pick and basically part of their process. So, which I hate, but that's my word. That's my least favorite term in the whole NBA is the process. I hated that. But anyway, I can maybe that's a video for another day of how much I hate the process. But I guess I kind of understand. They feel like, okay, this was our number 1 pick. This is our guy. Like we got to get something for him. How can we come back to the fans with only CJ McCollum, is he a star? I don't know. I honestly don't know if he's a star yet. Because that hasn't translated in playoff wins or playoff victories because he hasn't proved he can be like a number 1 or a number 2 guy on a championship caliber team. But I don't know. But so I just wanted to make that point that I kind of understand why Philly's doing it, but maybe at this point they need to see the writing on the wall and like, hey, we might not end up with anything and we might just have this guy sitting here. Chris, what's your whole take on the Ben Simmons situation if we haven't talked about it enough over the last year and a half?
Well, just to sum up, a year's worth of talk, I don't think anything's changed. I think the same teams are really interested in him that were interested in him a year ago. I think it's truthfully, I don't think the Knicks, they might want him, but who are the Knicks going to trade? They literally have nobody that would be of any interest, I wouldn't think. And they win enough where their draft picks aren't really that sexy either. Like
maybe
I think their entire team are free. The entire Knicks team are free agents. I think they've got like 1 guy under contract next year or something or 2. Then you've got the Lakers. They have supposedly been interested, but they've got nothing that they can trade unless they're trading Westbrook.
Westbrook would be the only thing I think, but.
Right, but I mean, I don't see them doing that just because they just brought him in. The only teams that make sense to me are Portland with CJ McCollum because he's a guard. He can run point guard, and I think he'd actually be better outside of Dame's shadow than with him.
I agree with that.
But he is what, 28? No, he's 30 already. So like he's got a collapsed lung right now. So I mean, he's not, the most prime piece of beef out there now. And then you've got, Sacramento, who, they wanted De'Aaron Fox, but the way that Maxi's been playing, Fox has been playing bad and Maxi's been playing good. So it's like, well, is that really that much of an upgrade? Maybe, I don't know. So the trouble that they have is they've got to match salaries. And like Jared said, $35 million is not an easy salary to match. The only deal that I'm scared of as a Timberwolves is Indiana or is the Pacers because they've got Brogdon and supposedly Brogdon was added in that package. And I might be ridiculous. And maybe it's just because I think Brogdon gets no love because he plays for the Pacers. I think if he played for the Knicks or for the Celtics or for the Sixers or for the Lakers,
he's a good player.
Any team like that, he would be looked at as one of the top 25 players in the NBA. Like if you play fantasy basketball, Brogdon, every time you look at him, you're like, dang, this guy's ranked 10th. This guy's ranked 8th this month. This guy's ranked 20th. Like he's always up there because he's just good. He does everything well. So that's who they should go get if they were smart. But I think we have maybe a 25% chance of getting them just by being the last person standing at the table. I mean, they want all these things, and I don't care who Morey wants. It doesn't matter. Everyone's saying, oh, well, they don't want Beasley, or they don't want this, or they want a top 25 player. Cool story. No one's giving you that. I don't care if you want that. No one's giving it to you. So you've got two choices. You take the best package that's offered, which very well might be $30 million in cap space and 4 first-round picks from the Timberwolves, or you can sit on him and pay him $200 million over his contract to not play. I think if you can have an owner willing to do that, that's fine, but I don't see how that benefits your team at all. So I'm thinking we have a real shot, and I think our shot is probably, if I was making the deal, making the offer right now, I would say, I'll toss you Beverly, I'll toss you Prince, and I'll give you McDaniels, and I'll give you 3 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps. Because pick swaps to me mean nothing, because I think we're going to be better than them. So I don't care about swapping picks. I'll give you 5 of those because your pick's going to be better than ours every time. So you're not going to swap with us. But I'll give you 3 first-round picks. That's fine. What I would like back is maybe a second, because you're going to have to fill the roster with some low paid guys if you've got 3 max guys and Anthony Edwards coming up the pipe for another contract.
Yeah, and that's interesting. It's an interesting thought that like it's not going away. Like we thought like this might be all tied up and done like by the end of the offseason, but no, it's still around. Yeah.
Morey's just holding on, but nothing's that's the thing that drives me crazy. Nothing's changed. The only thing that's changed is Ben Simmons has not played, and he's shown that he has mental health issues that he's getting treatment for. So all that's done is lower his value. And Morey's sitting here like some team is going to be like, oh yeah, maybe Ben Simmons. Like every team has thought about it, every team has crunched it, and every team has made their decision if they're interested or not. If they've made that decision a year ago or 6 months ago, nothing that's happened so far is going to change their mind to all of a sudden give up an all-star for Ben Simmons. Like, what are you talking about, man? If they haven't done it 6 months ago, they're not going to do it on a whim right now. I just don't get it.
Right. And it's not like he's done anything, like you said, he's done anything to increase value. He's not playing. There's no like video. I mean, there was that one video in the offseason of him making threes, but I mean, I could go out and make some threes and make myself look good. So
that makes one of us.
To be honest, in my church league, I was pretty cold last week. I didn't have that great a game, and it was the playoffs too, which we blew. But
oh man,
I know. So we're in the 3rd place game now. So
if you need Jared Vanderbilt, like a white old Jared Vanderbilt to come out there, I can fill that role for you.
All right,
I'll give you a hard 20 minutes.
Sounds good.
If
you need a right-handed D-Lo, call me. That's white.
Wow.
That's a more valuable piece than what I offered.
All right. Yeah. No, I'm keeping my options open. By the way, funny story. So this is off topic, but we're close to the end anyway. But funny story. So every team has 5. So you play 4-on-4, and then there's one guy sitting out. And this guy named Tim, who runs the league, needed a sub, and he saw some guy just shooting hoops on like the local, like shooting hoops at like the local court, and he took his car, put it in reverse, parked it, and asked the guy to sub for him. Basically, just finding some guy off the street, and he turned out to be really good. So
I was about to say the guy drops 40.
Yeah, exactly. He did. He was out of this world. He's a nice guy too, but anyway, so let's put a bow on it there, but let's look forward
before we do that, we have an important announcement to make. Me and Chris are playing each other in our fantasy basketball league this week. So it's a big week. And last time I looked, Chris was whooping me 1-8. There's that. But we also have a bet that the losing person, or the winner, I should say, the winner of this week can interrupt the other person on our next podcast. They just completely cut them off whenever they want. So that's kind of
okay. All right, awesome. So at this point, it's Chris with the lead right now.
Yeah, and win, guys. It's going to be a good time to tune in. There's going to be so much information passed next week. It's going to be great.
So yeah, something to look forward to coming up next week. I'm excited for that. So looking forward to this coming week. Like I said, we usually do Tuesdays, but it's a Monday, so we might have more games on the pipeline. So let's just look at the next three. So Nuggets. I mean, we usually don't beat the Nuggets, but it's a banged up Nuggets. No Jamal Murray, no Michael Porter. So why not? Let's go get a win. The Lakers, you never know. Who knows if LeBron's going to be there? I hope for Wolves fans whose one game a year they go to is the LeBron game. I hope he plays because honestly, I always feel so when I draft Timberwolves tickets in my league, it's honestly the players on the other team, right? Because I know my three are going to be there, but like. You want to see LeBron, and you want to play teams on their full strength. So I honestly hope LeBron's there and isn't hurt or something like that, just for the fan experience. Because I mean, it's like seeing Jordan, right? Like you wouldn't want to go to a Bulls game back in the day, and I get Rodman and that's it. Like, yeah, you wouldn't want that. And then start a home and home with the Mavericks. So let's talk about it. What are you looking for out of the Wolves this week? And we'll start with you, Chris.
We should be able to beat the Nuggets.
I agree.
Let's see what Jokic does. He'll drop a triple-double and make Cat look bad, but we got more than just Cat. What I'm looking forward in that game is to see if Cat can not let Jokic get in his head. If Cat can play his game. I don't want to see Cat trying to post him up. I don't want to see Cat trying to bully ball anyone. Like, the sooner Cat realizes that he is a rich man, Sam Perkins, the sooner everything's going to be better. Like, stay out at the 3-point line, do your thing. If you get, rolled up on a guard, destroy him in the post. But other than that, do what you're good at. So I'll be happy to see that. You're talking about LeBron. LeBron's on a tear right now. He's averaging probably, I think I saw over the last 8 games, 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists or something. So he's on a tear, but that Lakers team isn't that great. I mean, Anthony Davis is kind of a bum. Like, he's not really playing that great. And I think he's off injured maybe. So I want to see us we could beat them too, to be honest. Dude, we could take all 3. The Mavericks aren't playing that good.
No.
I just want to see competitive basketball, really. And if we can get one win, that'd be great. If we can get 2, I'd be really happy. Just because we got to keep pulling at least around 50% if we want to be in the playoff hunt.
I agree, and that's the thing. Like, the West, honestly, is full of. Now, I hate to call the Wolves a mediocre team, but at least record-wise, mediocre teams. Like in the past, to make even the playoffs in the West, you had to have 50 wins. Now we're not talking.
Memphis is the 4 seed.
Right.
Memphis is the 4 seed. That's insane.
They're not that good.
Think about the last. And now I know there wasn't a play-in tournament. Think about the last time we made the playoffs. We needed 47 wins just to make it in, and we did that. So I mean, the West is definitely more attainable. Jared, what are you looking for out of the Wolves this week?
Well, the first thing I'm looking for is teams to stop hitting threes a game against us. I think in our last 4 games, they've had 18 or more 3-pointers made in 3 of them, and the one that they didn't was the Cavaliers, which we also lost. So defensively,
what I'm curious about is what their fans get when they hit 12 threes. Like, are they just getting the beef and cheddars? Are they getting
tacos?
Arby's is going broke because of the Timberwolves, because the other teams are hitting them on us.
They honestly, Arby's should have raised that to at least 15. Because in today's NBA, back in if this was 2000, then yeah, 12 threes is oh, okay, yeah. But I mean,
I feel like it's a bad.
Arby's
I feel like it's a bad hit of 12.
Drive through their drive-through.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What did you say, Chris? I missed that.
I said Arby's is happy to have anybody pull into their drive-through right about now.
That's true. Oh, by the way, crazy story about Arby's. The Arby's by me now closes at 5 every single day. That will tell you how bad the unemployment shortage is. It closes
dinner.
At 5. It opens at 10. It closes at 5 every single day.
So yeah, I'm looking for us to well, first of all, the threes, like I mentioned, we just got to quit getting teams shooting 40+% three, and we'll probably start winning games again. I want to see us make a push this week. I would be unhappy with anything under 2 wins. If we got one, I would be a little upset. I think this is the time of the year we're fully healthy. We're playing teams. We're going to be playing the Mavericks without Luka more than likely at least once, maybe twice, because he's out for a few games. They said, like Gabe was saying, you got a shorthanded Nuggets team that I think that we always play the Nuggets hard. Whether they're at full strength or not, we always seem to play them extremely hard. So I think that game is winnable. And then, like on paper, I think, oh man, the Lakers, they're probably just going to beat us down. And then I'm like, you know what? The Lakers really don't shoot all that many threes, and that's where we're getting roasted. So we might actually have a chance in that game as well. So I'm hoping for 2. That's what I'm hoping for.
I hate to burst your bubble, Jared, but according to what I'm reading online, it looks like Luka is supposed to return against us, which of course, right?
Why not?
Yeah. But to be fair, I mean, Lillard returned against us, and look what happened. So who knows? And like we were saying, the Mavericks aren't unbeatable, the Lakers aren't unbeatable, and definitely right now, Denver isn't unbeatable. So it could go either way. It's fun. It's fun to have games that actually mean something, and knowing that you're not going to get slaughtered.
I do want to see Noel, see if he can crack the lineup. Maybe move Balmero back to Iowa, and see if Noel can play some NBA quality minutes and make that consistent, because he's had stretches where he's been impactful, and he's had stretches where he's been absolutely horrible. So we need some impactful stretches from him. He's still young, and if he can turn the key and be just, a serviceable backup, that's a big step for us in the right direction.
Absolutely. And I think we'll leave it at that. This is the Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast. Chris, thanks so much for being here.
No problem, man.
Absolutely. And Jared, thanks as always.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. It is the Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on Spotify so you never miss an episode. And as always, go Wolves.